Today we're going to be delving into relationships, and we have invited participants to submit their charts and their questions, and we're going to be diving in and looking at what are the reasons behind some of your challenges. I'm joined today by Karen Flaherty. Karen?
Hi everybody. Thanks so much for coming, and thanks Caroline. Thanks Cindy for helping out. So we're just wanted to introduce ourselves a little bit, since you're probably not used to seeing us on this show. I am Karen Flaherty. My company is Living by Human Design. I've been lucky enough really to be studying with Karen Curry Parker for over 10 years now. It was 10 years in January that I started my adventure with human design, and in January 2009 I saw her speak at a conference or a webinar, seminar before we had online, down in Princeton, New Jersey, and she was talking about inside the body of God, and she says, oh, and I do this thing called human design, and I was hooked. As soon as she said human design, I was hooked. So it's been an interesting journey since then. I've been an analyst for the last 10 years, but I've been doing it full time since we moved down to Florida for the last 5 years. I was inspired to write a book, which you might have seen, Getting to Know You, in the past year. That's on Amazon, and it's been a lovely journey. I love helping people find out about their human design and find out more about themselves so that they can really progress in their lives, so that they can make differences in their lives. And the relationships, I've always felt, are a really important part of that. Caroline, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Caroline Gaddy, and I'm a human design specialist. I've studied through level 4 and taken additional training, including relationships by design and life purpose. I'm also a certified life coach, and in my muggle life, I'm a chef. So I approach human design with the idea of surrender and understanding the energies and allowing them to be as opposed to fighting them. And I think the beauty of human design is that life just gets easier. You expend less energy and you experience more joy. So hopefully today, as we go through your charts, will help you experience more joy as well.
Sounds good.
We're ready for our first chart, Cindy?
And we should have
many buttons.
So many buttons, so little time. And we will have questions associated with each one as well. So we'll be happy to answer anybody's questions.
Right, and we had someone on Facebook said the volume might be a little low, but I can hear you. I'm hearing you fine. And so the first one we're going to look at actually do you want the ones that they just sent their chart? Can you do something like that?
We can, but why don't we start with the questions, Cindy, if that's okay?
Okay. So the first question I had is from Kymri, and let me get her chart up. Oh, in the background. Now, Kymri's question, while I'm getting her chart.
Would you like me to read it, Cindy, while you get the chart?
Oh, that'd be great.
Okay.
That would help.
So Kymri would like some insights regarding her marriage and relationship with her children. All of her children are generators or manifesting generators, and although she loves them dearly, it is hard for her to be around them most of the time, and she goes into states of panic, anxiety, and overwhelm almost daily when she's with them. I'm guessing that Kymri is a non-energy type.
Can you see her chart all right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, and she's a projector, as you suspected.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she's a projector with 2 open pressure centers. So she's going to be very, very sensitive. On top of that, So first of all, what I'm going to say, Kymri, is you're going to have to make time for yourself to make sure that you're taking care of yourself before you interact with your kids and your husband. Make sure that you have regular time to take care of your needs. You have an open head and an open root. Both of these are pressure centers, the pressure to figure things out and solve things for your family. And then there's the pressure to do. And even if people aren't saying or asking you to do things, you feel this pressure to do it. And And the only definition you have on that root is a gate that is highly sensitive, and it's also in your conscious earth. So you're extremely sensitive to everything that you're taking in around you, and it's just going to be overwhelming. Self-care is going to be real important. There's nothing for you to fix. The primary thing is to take care of yourself and make sure that you set boundaries. And I would also invite you to use your human design knowledge and communicate with your family with yes or no questions. Give them something to respond to. I think that'll start to help you out. Karen?
Yeah, that's great, Caroline. Great advice especially around self-care. I would say that in addition, your will center, Kymri, is probably playing a little bit of tricks with you sometimes. That's the red diamond, the red triangle that Cindy is circling. And that can make you feel as if you have to do a lot of things that you may not really have to do. It's going to put pressure on you, basically. Also, it's kind of another pressure center in a way, in terms of making you feel like you have to do things that you don't necessarily have to do. The other thing to keep an eye on is your emotional solar plexus, which is the brown triangle that Cindy is circling. Thanks, Cindy. This is, you want to pay attention to your wave, especially with your emotional wave, especially with regard to family, because whenever you're with family, you're going to feel it. Those are especially it's especially affected by relationships. And then the last thing I'd mention is that you have the spleen defined, so your families kind of want to be around you. You're just a feel-good kind of person, and they're always going to want to be around you. So again, the self-care is going to be important. You're going to have to make boundaries that work for you, right? That work, whether you're working or you're at home or you're with family, you want to create the boundaries that really work for you so that you can get the downtime you need, the self-care you need, and then you can be, it's like putting the oxygen mask on first, right? The more you help yourself and feel good about yourself and your own energies, the more you'll be able to help others.
Yeah, one last thing I want to add is be very, very clear that you're providing what is asked of you and not what you think you need to provide. You are here to be invited into leadership positions as a democratic leader, and just make sure you're not assuming what is needed from you. Make it clear. Communicate with your family, again, using the yes or no questions. Do you need me to help you with your homework? Don't assume. They may just need to be soothed emotionally. So get really, really clear on your communication using those yes or no questions so you know what is needed of you.
Great.
So the
You have another
next
chart,
chart,
Cindy?
I do. I was just looking at, are you going to BH's chart now? Is that right? Or Maria's chart? Is that what you want? You guys have to read the questions. So you tell me, because otherwise I won't be able to pull up the chart. Let's go with Maria.
Okay. So let's go with Maria's question. And Maria's question is, my relationship with animals has always been closer and more rewarding than with humans in my life. Is there anything in my chart that will shed some light on this, please?
Oh, too big. Let's make it a little smaller there. Is that good?
Great, thanks,
Yes.
Cindy.
Mm-hmm. Karen, did you want to go first?
Okay, well, the one thing I was going to look for is not there. But that doesn't mean that you don't have it. And just, for everybody who's on the call, we really have everything that's in the chart. We all have everything that's in the chart. So the fact that the one gate I was looking for, which is particularly sensitive to animals and nature and to people and to emotions, which is the gate 19, is not there. But what is there is the other gate, half of the gate, or the other half of the channel, which is the 49. And so the 49 is also about the animal kingdom. It's very much about the animal kingdom, and it's about providing for the collective, basically, or providing for the tribe. It's a very tribal energy, and so it's about being with the tribe, and as you probably realize that the animal kingdom is changing energetically as we humans are changing energetically. And I think that we're all kind of moving away from using animals the way we had previously. So your connection to animals is not, it is definitely in the chart. The other things that are in the chart is that you've got a lot of openness in the chart. You can see with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 open centers in the chart, that's a lot to have open. And so it makes you very sensitive to the energies around you. And as you may or may not know, animals are reflectors usually by energy type. And so they pick up on our energies. And so the fact that you're very open and they're very open may, just be a very natural coming together for you and the animals. Now, on the other hand, being with people is a little harder because, again, of all the openness, and because when you're with other people, you're going to take in all that energy that they have. And so wherever you're white, you're taking in the energy centers of the people that you're around, and that's not going to feel so good all the time. It's sometimes, in fact, will feel overwhelming, especially if you're out and about, like on a weekend or at a conference or with a big group of people. You're going to come home and feel really spent. And so as a projector, as somebody who has all this openness in your chart, it does make you quite sensitive to the energies of other people, whereas with the animal kingdom, you just feel much more at home. Caroline?
I would also like to add that there's a real drive for intimacy. You have the emotional desire for intimacy and connection, and you also have this desire to nurture, and you may find it easier to nurture animals and receive from animals than to do so with people who are very unpredictable and who can make you feel off-center. Again, as Karen pointed out, you have a lot of openness. Your G center, if you're in a really uncomfortable space, if you're not comfortable in your surroundings or with the people around you, you're going to seek refuge with something you do feel comfortable with. So you might want to look at, do you need to be in a different environment? Do you need to be with different people? Do you need to set boundaries? What do you need to do to make it more comfortable for you to interact? There's also this desire to get things right and the fear of getting it wrong. And you may find that animals are more forgiving of your mistakes than people are. I'm wondering perhaps if you've experienced a lot of criticism in your life and you've kind of drawn back from people because that's very painful for you. And it just feels more comfortable to be with animals that love you just as you are. Anything further, Karen?
There's also the 48 and the gate 48, which is about depth and making sure you know things, and 21, trying to be in control of things. Will feel a little off balance sometimes when you're with others. And so it's just something to be aware of. It doesn't mean that you need to change it all, but it does mean that you may have issues sometimes in dealing with other people when you're when they think you're trying to control them. And so that can come up. But on the other hand, you've got the gates 25, 46, 15, which are all gates of love. And so you're here to be loving, and you're here to be nurturing, and you're here to be, with the 7 also coming off the G, you're here to be a leader as well. So that can, kind of seem like a conundrum at times, because you want to be loving, but you also want to be a leader who's in control. And you can see those two would kind of lead to a bit of lack of balance at times, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. One last thing I'd like to add is in your unconscious definition in your Sun and Earth, you have the 2343. This is very mutative and highly misunderstood energy. So again, with that open identity center along with the 2343, there is the potential to be highly misunderstood and to seek refuge from criticism. Again, the gates 48 and 18 are both all about correction and depth, and they're very sensitive to being wrong or not knowing enough, how they're perceived. So those are other factors I think that could play into your unease with people.
and the 2343 is also very individual. It's meant to be. You're here to say something. You're here to be able to articulate something that is quite different than other people. And maybe you've found the words, maybe you haven't found the words yet, but it might sound strange to people, whereas with animals, you're, as Caroline said, you're a lot more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So we're good on this?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I want to do a quick check on Facebook because to see if we had questions or comments coming in there. Okay, so Katie,
next, can we go to Barbara's chart?
sure. Can I tell you some of the questions that came in on Facebook because they disappeared? Just
Sure.
Katie said, this is tough with my partner because he's an emotional generator but doesn't allow himself to run the emotional buzz completely before responding, which then and it just went away, which then intensifies the emotional response. Okay, and you said, who are we going to next?
Barbara?
Okay.
So Barbara's asking if the chart gives any reason as to why she has so much trouble developing close relationships. She's not someone that has or has ever had a lot of friends. She has a few close ones and that's it. Again, I'm guessing this is another non-energy type. And there we go.
Yes, yes, she is.
Barbara, first of all, it's okay. It's okay not to have a big circle. So if you understand the difference between the aura of energy types like generators and manifesting generators and non-energy types, generators and manifesting generators have this big inviting aura. It's warm. It says, come on in, be with us. Whereas the projector aura is very, very focused. It's kind of like a key looking for the right keyhole. And it's not big and enveloping. We have very specific people that are meant for us. And in a way, this projector aura is protection because it prevents us from getting into relationships that are going to drain our energy. And if any projectors on this call have pushed through and tried to make themselves part of these big groups and have a wide circle and felt themselves drained and doing things they didn't want to do or hurt or taken advantage of, you can see this is the projector aura in action. You're ignoring your aura, you're going out and you're pushing and you're experiencing the bitterness that comes from not being seen, not being heard, your energy not being honored, and just doing too much. So part of that is just going back to aura. It's as simple as that. Karen, you want to add some more?
Well, you know, as a projector, Caroline, you know too that the more the projector really appreciates and loves their own energy type and appreciates that you will get the invitations and starts to see the invitations, the more invitations you'll get. I mean, it just kind of happens that way. In fact, a lot of the projector clients I talk to say that once I call them invitations, they start to recognize that they've actually gotten a lot of invitations. They chose not to accept some of them, and that's okay. But you're really probably getting more invitations than you think. Now, on the other hand, you've got the 3-5 profile, three from the conscious sun and conscious and unconscious, sun and earth. But the 5 is really about having a small circle of friends. Really, you might, you know, culturally we all think, oh yeah, we should have a big group of friends and we should all be partying all the time. But for the projector, that's just not, it probably doesn't even sound that great to you. So I would just say, Barbara, you can just let yourself have a small circle of friends, just kind of within the cloak. Basically, think of it, you know, as maybe 3 to 5 friends at the most that are really close to you, that you really let in, and the rest are really, you know, unfortunately projecting onto you, which is what we talk about too in human design, where people are making comments to you that don't really sound like you. And so not really sounding like you is only because they have opinions about you or about other things that they just tend to bring up in front of you. And that doesn't mean that it's you, that doesn't mean it's personal at all. It's just some things they might say to you. So don't take it seriously, don't take it personally. It's really not meant for you. It's almost like a mirror for them. And so you get to be you. You just get to be you. Don't overdo, don't overcommit. Try to just honor your open sacral so that you're not overdoing or doing too much. And especially again with that will center, the red the red triangle is going to be having you feel like you want to do more than you really have the energy to do. And so preserve your energy, do what feels good for you, and don't do what doesn't feel good. But you have with the will center, it makes you feel good to other people, and also the spleen has you feel good to other people. So the spleen is very nurturing, the will center is very empowering. People really love being around you. If they're not saying it, they probably just are shy to say it, but they actually love being around you. That energy is very intoxicating to a lot of people. And the other thing I'll just mention is that with the will center, a lot of times promises are very important to you, but they're not so important to other people who don't have the will center defined. And that's 2/3 of the population. So 1/3 has it filled in and the other 2/3 does not have it filled in. So that will center is important to you. It's important to you to keep promises, especially with the channel that goes to the emotional solar plexus. But for other people, it's not as important. And so if somebody says, oh yeah, I'll show up Friday night at such and such a place at a certain time, and then they don't show up, you're disappointed. And I don't blame you, but they didn't take it as seriously as you took it. And so you want to either just find a way to make that okay, or do the things you need to do to confirm with people if that is important to you. Does that make sense?
And the thing I would add is in her conscious sun and earth is the entire channel, the tribal channel of bargains and agreements. So bargains and agreements are really important to you. And again, this is your projector or protecting you, because the more people you engage with, the more people you're going to experience that are going to disappoint you because they're not going to keep up their side of the bargain and agreement. And just honor that. Honor the close friends that you have. Recognize when something feels good to you in being in relationship, that you have that 6 that wants to be intimate with people, but don't feel like you have to spread yourself, and that not having a large circle is any indication of your success or failure in relationship. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and you're experiencing just what you're supposed to be experiencing. Ready for the next question? So I'm going to go to question 5 from Libby. And Libby doesn't know a whole lot about her chart, but in her relationship, she finds it difficult to express her feelings, especially she does not want to hurt someone when she expresses them. So I suspect that she's holding on to a lot and putting other people's needs before her own. So let's see what Lily's chart looks like. Libby, I'm sorry, did I say Lily? It's Libby.
Libby, okay.
Yeah. All right.
So, do you want to go, Caroline? Or you want me to go?
Yeah, if you want to go first.
Okay, so Libby, you probably know that you're a manifesting generator, and as we saw in, I think it was just the last chart that or the chart before that, you also have the 2343, which connects your ajna to your throat, and you would also have that tendency to be, and it's actually in your conscious sun and earth, right up at the top of your chart, so it's actually in your incarnation cross, as we say, which is the story of your life. And so this is very important energy to you. So the 23 and the 43 are all about having a very individual way of saying things. And we actually call this the freak to genius channel. And the only difference between being a freak or a genius is timing, right? So the timing of your energies you'll probably try to say things a number of different times. It'll always sound very individual. It'll always sound very unique. It'll be very much an idea that you have at the moment, and these ideas might change over time. So it might not be the one thing that you have to do over time, and it looks like you're already in your 60s, and so you probably tried a few different things to say over time, and so having that energy is very much going to make it difficult for you to express yourself in any kind of relationship, because you're never sure, first of all, what's going to come out, and secondly, you're never sure how people are going to take it. So it's the kind of energy where you can actually, you just have to kind of go with the flow. You are a 5-1 energy, so again, people will, in terms of your profile, so people will perhaps project onto you. That kind of goes with the territory. And so you can imagine if somebody is saying something that's rather unique, very individual, and other people are projecting onto them, well, that's silly, or that's crazy, or I love that, or how could that be, or what does she mean? All of those things will come up, and you may or may not have answers for that. So the more you get comfortable with what you want to say, how you want to say it, the more you just try it, have fun with it, just be as kind of joyful with the information you've got as possible. I suspect you've got something really big to say. As a 5-1 with the 4323, you're here to be somebody who's got a message, totally with a message, and you're also intense about it, because that's also in your incarnation cross. You've got the gate 30 way down at the bottom coming off the solar plexus. And so you come across as rather intense too to people. They may have said that to you, they may not have said that, but there's going to be an intensity there. And as a manifesting generator, you're trying to do a lot in a day. You're trying to get a lot of things done. So sometimes it might come out the right way and sometimes it doesn't. So all of this would, I think, lead to, well, you have the voice and you have the energy to get things done. Sometimes it's not going to come out right, and that would make you a little shy to say those things. Caroline?
I would also add, you're under a lot of pressure to do things for people, figure things out for people. At the same time, you can question your own identity. Your identity center, your G center is totally open. And so you can feel other people's identity. And feeling people's identity, in addition to feeling pressure of their thoughts and their inspirations, and then feeling pressure to do things, could have you checking yourself because you're not quite sure what people want of you. You've got a lot of power and a lot of intensity, and you may have gotten some pushback when you've tried to express that. And because that identity center is so open, and you can internalize this and make it part of who you think you are, that can be kind of a painful pattern from the past that keeps showing up, and that's hard for you. Also note you have a lot of activations on your emotional solar plexus, but nothing's making it to the throat. It's probably easier for you to communicate when you're in a group rather than when you're one-on-one, because you have more chances to actually hook up that emotional solar plexus to the throat. Now it does make it to the throat in a backwards way, and there it can get flavored with that power stream that makes you feel like you're pushing rather than expressing what you're feeling emotionally, because it's going through a very powerful channel. First of all, the 59.6 is a aura busting channel, and then going through the 3420 is another powerful channel, and you may feel like the power overtakes your emotions, and that what is being expressed isn't what you're truly feeling. It's something kind of beyond your control, and with the 30 up there, that could be even intensifying it. It's kind of hard without having a conversation to know if this is the dynamic that's going on. But I suspect it's the power piece is getting in the way of you communicating and being subtle and vulnerable and being able to be really honest with what you're feeling emotionally. Did you want to add anything else, Karen?
No, I think that's good for now.
Okay. So the next question we have is from Terry. And her question is that she finds relationships to be very draining. She loves connecting with people, but sometimes they need more from her than she does from them. Is this due to something in the chart? Any input would be appreciated. So again, I'm guessing this is another non-energy type. Let's see. There's also elements in the chart that can show up that cause people to overcommit and do more than they have energy to do or that they have a desire to do. It all depends on what centers are open.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
again,
Those open. Yep.
Yeah. So you people are going to sense with that defined will and that defined identity center that you're somebody. When you're in the presence of someone with a open or undefined will center, they are going to feel like they can do more when they're with you because they're riding off your ego, your will energy. And then they get out of your energy and it all falls apart. So you're a manifester, you're very powerful, but it's not sustainable energy. And people like this don't understand that. And they keep coming back for more. They want more of your identity. They want more of your will. And you just don't have it to give. What I would encourage you to do is to set really strong boundaries. Fortunately, you don't have a whole lot of energy of overcommitting, which is good. It's just it's the sense of people being in your aura and wanting to take more than you have to give. And you're extremely sensitive as well to other people and their needs and their energy. So setting strong boundaries and making sure that you inform people how much you're able to give, what you're able to give, be very clear about it, and then let it go.
Yeah, it's probably really about your strategy, Terry. As a manifester, your strategy is literally to inform people. You can have any idea in your head and decide you want to do it. That doesn't mean they get to decide what you do. So again, it's the boundaries. It's then deciding what you want to do, and it might be their idea, but just the fact that they have the idea doesn't mean you have to do it. And so it's the boundaries, and then a combination of informing them when you do decide whatever it is you're going to do, and just let them know. It's totally up to you whether you do it or not. The other thing is that you might take criticism seriously or personally because of the channel, the line that goes from the throat down to the G center. That's a very it's a very individual energy again, and it's about making a creative contribution to the world. But it also, because it goes straight from the throat to the G center, it means that you take any criticism or raising their voice or changing their tone of voice to something you don't like, you'll take it personally. And so what I tell my clients is that you don't need to take it personally. You just would want to realize what they're saying is usually about something you're doing and not who you are, right? It's not about who you are. They have no right. They have no, it's not up to them to say who you are or aren't. You're a very resourceful and powerful and competent person, and that being said, they have no right to criticize you about anything. They might not like something you're saying, but that can be dealt with. So you don't need to take it personally. Please don't take it to heart. It's just not something that's good for you. It's probably happened in the past. We especially let people know who have children with these. As a child, you might have taken it and internalized things, and it just doesn't. You don't need to. It's really not for you to feel that level of criticism at such a deep level. It just doesn't serve you. And so the more you can kind of separate you from this thing you did or the thing you said, the better. I find that helps people a lot. So I hope that can help you too.
I also want to add, as a manifester, you have the ability to get things started, and you also have additional definition. You have the 53 in the unconscious moon, which means you're capable of starting things. And when you start things, you do it from a very strong position of having a depth of knowledge and ability, and you can see patterns that need to be corrected. That's through the 48 and the 18. But you are designed to get it started and then hand it over. So being able to delegate is going to be very important to you. Again, going back to setting boundaries. Okay, this is what I can do for you. I can start this for you. Here's the framework, but then you're on your own. You're here to make an impact, get things rolling, and then pull back and rest and wait for your next opportunity. You're not here for the long game. So making sure that people understand that, and you really should be able to express that pretty powerfully, because your definition, the ego to the identity to the throat, allows you to be assertive, and sometimes overly so, where you can be misinterpreted, and then again that 19, the sensitivity crops up and causes you to draw back, and it can be kind of a vicious cycle. But set those boundaries, get things rolling, and hand it over. You ready for the next question?
Mm-hmm.
Is the next question?
I think we need to go to I hope I'm saying this right, Thuy, Thuy. Her chart is in 3 parts, so I don't know, Cindy, if you're going to be able to get that up there in a way that we can look at.
Well, her chart, I think her chart itself is, you'll see all together.
Okay. She wants to be someone who is valued by her partner. She wants her opinions to be valued by her partner. She has a lot of wise and powerful things to say, but her partner is rarely receptive to her. And from the beginning of the relationship, it was pretty clear that her opinion wasn't valued, and he valued the opinion of others more. I'm guessing, once again, this is going to be a non-energy type. So let's take a look.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's a projector.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is where the bitterness piece comes in, isn't it? It's, you have all this wisdom to offer, and one thing you might have to recognize and deal with is that your partner is not your person to guide and give advice to. Your partner may just be your partner, and it may not be there to benefit from your wisdom. You do need to wait for the invitation, and you may not get the invitation from him. You may get your invitation from other people. And so there's this surrender to the fact that this is just the dynamics. This person's not on my fractal. Save your energy and your wisdom for those that ask for it. And it's really hard when you're in a relationship to honor that. But if you continue to push forward, you're just going to experience more bitterness. Unless you're asked for your insight, you need to save it. Now, one way around that is you can say, I have some ideas about that. Would you like to hear them? If they say yes, then you can offer it. And if they say no, then you need to accept it. And that's going to be just something, again, you need to surrender to. You really can't change. You're going to be hypersensitive to this because you have the 5539. This is a channel that has intense melancholy and goes in waves of deep despair, and then it'll circle back to feeling a little more normal. When you're in that low space, recognize that it's not going to be there forever. And recognize also that you're never going to work your way out of it forever. It's always going to be with you. You're always going to experience these waves of melancholy going back and forth. And when you're in those waves of melancholy, that's when it's time to do the deep personal work and see what lesson is to be learned there, or how you can express it creatively, and try to make the best use of it. But learning to honor that part of yourself is going to be very important for you as well.
Thanks, Caroline. So, and what I would add is that 2 things. One, you want to take a look at your open head and ajna, which may change your ideas from time to time, depending on who you're with, right? So the ideas that you may be communicating to your partner might change over time, and he might have a defined head and ajna. I don't know, maybe you don't know, but if he does, he's probably a little more consistent in his thinking than you are in yours. That doesn't make either of you right or wrong. It is what it is. And so your ideas are you can see that there's actually no definition up there. There's nothing that you're consistently going to, have a go-to place, whether it's logical, it's not particularly logical or abstract. It can be any of those. And so your openness is going to feel to you as if there's a lot going on up there all the time. And there probably is. And it may not feel like that to him. And so he might have a difficult time understanding that. The other thing I just want to mention is that in your incarnation cross, which is again, the top 4 numbers in the chart. So you got the 39, which is about provocation. Some people are quite sensitive to that energy. You got the 38, which is the fighter. So when you do provoke someone, you might actually feel like you want to have a little bit of a fight about it. The good thing about the 38 is that it's usually what is worth fighting for, and that you'll save some of the smaller fights for other days. The 21, again, we've mentioned this before today, it's about control. So he may feel as if you're trying to control him at times. And the 48 is all about depth, which is very much a wanting to get to the bottom of things, but also on the fear side, because some of the gates attached to the spleen also have fears associated with them. It's the fear of inadequacy. So that's just something that you're going to kind of have, because it's something you can definitely step through. It's a false fear. It's not true. It's just something you're feeling, and you might be feeling inadequate in the relationship or in your discussions with him, or as you're kind of moving forward as a couple. So all those things could be turning up, and they happen to be themes in your chart, and so they will they're pretty prominent for you. So it's really about accepting who you are. That's all of what I said is probably not a surprise to you. And so it's just accepting those, really cherishing them, and appreciating who you are. And he's not. He's somebody different. And so that doesn't make you, again, right or wrong. It's just different. And there are plenty of lovely, provocative people who do things in a way that and the only reason you are provocative is so that you can help people get closer to their own spiritual abundance. That's the whole reason for that channel. And so do what you do. I'm sure, it's probably something spiritual, or, in some kind of a healing profession, or somewhere where you're helping people all the time. And so it doesn't really matter. The sooner you're happy with you, the sooner everybody will be.
And I would like to add, focus on the people in your life that do appreciate your wisdom and who do seek you out. Just to share a little personal note, my mother does not recognize any of the things that I have to offer her in terms of health and food and things like that. And for years, I kept pushing and pushing, and I just got more and more bitter. And then I just decided to let it go. And I recognized that her best friend did recognize me and consistently sought me out for advice, and was thrilled when I was able to make a positive impact in her life. So I focused more of my energy on the satisfaction and the success that I had working with my mom's best friend, and I learned to release the frustration and the bitterness that I had of not being able to impact my mom in the way that I felt that I could if she accepted what I had to say. Again, it's surrendering to what is. We can't change the energy. We can't change other people. So focus on what is possible and release what isn't. Okay, the next question I think is with Amy. Amy is wondering how to know if an invitation is genuine for her and not just out of some infatuation, and what is she truly here to be invited to and offer in a relationship. So once again, this is going to be a non-energy type. I'm guessing it's a projector, someone who knows the lingo, and someone who's not quite certain of how to interpret what's showing up for her. So a lot of openness. Karen, did you want to go first?
Well, right. So in terms of getting the invitations, Amy, you're going to get some invitations that feel good, and you're going to get others that don't feel good. And for you, I can't see the entire chart, but it looks to be that your spleen, the brown triangle on the left side of the body graph, is what you'll be, is what your authority will be. And so with the splenic authority, you'll get invitations, and then, as I understand it, you would have, and it doesn't have to be immediate, but at some point you'll get an intuitive feeling of whether that feels good or not. And you could also talk to other people about it to see if it feels good, not to get their advice, but only to hear yourself talk about it, so that you can get an idea, again, if you're not quite sure about it, about how that feels for you. And if it feels good, then do it. And if it doesn't feel good, then don't do it. There's really not much else for you to work through because you're not emotional and you don't have the sacral defined or the will center. So none of those things will play into your decisions. You get to decide whether something feels good or not. It sounds selfish, but it's really not. It's really just about you. It's about which invitations feel good and which don't. And if you have a few of them, that's nice. You get to decide which of the 1, 2, or 3 invitations you want to take in order. And I would just reiterate that the splenic intuition may not come immediately. You might feel it in the shower. You could feel it, with a group of people. It's some other time. I think of it as an intuitive hit. It's almost like, oh, okay, that really does feel good. I should do it. And you want to listen to those because sometimes they don't come back again. The other thing is that you might be sensitive to people's criticisms or not liking what you have to say sometimes. And again, that's shown up in the between the G center and the throat. You've got 2 of those showing up, the 7 to the 31 and then the 10 to the 20. So those are both places where you might take criticism a little more personally than it's meant. And so that might also I suspect, have you question the invitations if they don't have a real, true ring of endorsement or generosity to them.
So, Carolyn, before you go, Amy's been on Facebook asking some questions while you've been watching other people's charts too. I believe this is the right Amy. They both are Amy H's. She said, and this goes along with what you said, Karen, she says, the defined spleen is very eerie to me. People often want to keep me, and it makes me question myself, afraid of saying no and enforcing boundaries.
Yeah. So what I want to point out to Amy is that splenic hit comes and goes really quickly. And I always advise people who have splenic authority to get in the habit of writing it down and tracking it so you can learn to trust it. The more that you know when your splenic hit was correct, and this is best seen in retrospect, the more you're going to trust it. Now, there's a number of reasons why people love being with you, and I can see why you're wondering whether they're infatuated with you or they see you for who you truly are. You have strong, empowering individual circuitry. People feel good and empowered being with you because you have the 5728 and you have the 1020. In addition, you have a defined G center and the defined spleen, and both of those give people a certain degree of security. The splenic energy makes people feel safe, and the identity center makes people feel certain of who they are because you are certain of who you are, and they pick up on that and they want to be a part of that. However, emotionally, you're going to question because your emotions are shifting. You're open there. They're shifting because of who you're with. You're going to question how you actually feel because as people go in and out of your energy, and same with the open will center, you're going to question what you want to commit to, what kind of agreements you want to make. And that's going to shift as people go in and out of your energy. And then you have the open pressure centers, both the open head and the open root center. And these also kind of pull you off track. So your strength, your serious strength is trusting that splenic hit and starting to really hone in and identify that, and understanding that you are here to empower people by your presence. Just by being around you is going to make people feel strong. And you also have the energy of the 45 in your It's in your unconscious Earth, and it's also in Mars. Is it anywhere else? So when it shows up a couple times, it means that here you are, people are going to look at you as the benevolent king for leadership. It's in third line energy, so you're going to experiment with it a bit. You're going to investigate it a bit. It's let's see, you're 1, 3. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is also very charming, and so again, people are going to be drawn to the charm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing is she wants to be seen for who she is. She knows who she is. She wants to make sure other people see her for who she is as well. And learning, again, you're going to have to rely on your splenic authority for that.
She had a couple more comments on Facebook.
Mhm.
This is, again, she made most of these comments as you were going through other people's charts. Setting
Okay.
boundaries often feels like I immediately lose energy. Is this normal? How can I become more at ease with putting up boundaries? Is there any part of the chart that can help? And then it says, I'm a projector.
Right. So she needs to make her agreements out of other people's energy. So when someone asks you to commit to something or to do something, ask for time to think about it, to sleep on it. If you get a splenic hit that says no right off the bat, then learn to trust that splenic hit. Again, documenting those hits will help you trust them more. But if you're not getting a splenic hit right away, then get out of people's energy and make your decision. That open will center is subject to being hijacked, and you can go making agreements that you feel like you can stick to when you're in other people's energy. But once you get out of their energy, it falls apart, and you go, "What did I do?" And then your self-esteem can drop if you're not following up on your commitments, or you can end up being resentful following up on things when you really don't want to do it. Also with the 36 there, you can tend to jump into things out of boredom and then have your regrets. So again, honoring the splenic authority and making decisions outside of other people's energy. At that open route, when it comes to boundaries, that's another big one too. Make sure you're clear on what people expect and want from you, and don't make assumptions, because you will feel someone can ask you a simple question. They just want a yes or no question, but you've already created this whole story of why you can or can't do it, or why you did or didn't do it. Just answer the question. If they ask for more, then give it. But don't go into story mode with that open root center. Just focus on what is in the moment, what is real, and not as what perceived pressure of having to do things for other people that they haven't voiced.
You made me laugh. Me with my open will. No, okay. Amy goes on saying, so good to hear that the intuition doesn't always come instantly. They so often say that in the human design community, but often I'm overwhelmed, distracted by other stuff, so I might need time to really feel the invitation. And then she comments, feels very aligned. I definitely see my purpose in simply affecting people positively by being myself, not having to do anything in particular. Thanks.
Perfect, perfect. And yeah, that split, with all the openness, the 2 open pressure centers and the open emotional solar plexus, yeah, that splenic hit's going to get overwhelmed. It's going to be hard to tease out what's going on. So it is important for you to just draw back.
Now, we don't really have time for another chart, and I think we went through most of them, didn't we, Carol? I mean, as I'm looking at the charts there, I think we got through most of them that had the questions attached.
That was the last question from Amy.
But we did have a question that we don't really need a chart. We have a human design newbie that maybe you can end with us that says, what types are the energy types? I mean, a very human design newbie here, because you start, right. And that's the way you kind of started out.
Yeah, so the energy types have a defined sacral. That's the red square towards the bottom of the chart, and that's found in generators and manifesting generators. They make up about 70% of the population, so we are living in a generator world right now. Most people are energy types. They're not necessarily living according to their authority and strategy, and when they're not doing their thing, us non-energy types have a hard time doing our thing. So yeah, it's the red square, the red sacral. Those are the energy types.
And the ones who don't have a sacral defined are called the projectors, manifestors, or reflectors.
And if they want, now we're coming at the top of the hour, would you guys like to, if they want to follow up, because you guys did a great talk on relationships, but Carolyn, we were talking ahead of time that if you really want to get an in-depth relationship reading, you need to have an appointment with, say, either one of you, because, and use your guidance. And is there a way, I will put it in the comments after the show, but if you want to tell us about.
We can both be found on the quantum alignment page as practitioners. And right now you can contact me through the email that's on the page. And Karen, I believe, has her own website. And very shortly, you're going to be able to book appointments directly through the quantum alignment website. And we're actually going to have a special for the end of the latter half of June, where you can get a reading at a reduced rate with any of the featured specialists on the page, and you can book that right through the quantum alignment website. There's little bios there. You can find out about each of the practitioners, including myself and Karen, and find one that really resonates with you. And I love working with relationships. I love working with projectors. I do the theme of surrender. That's my thing. That's what has been powerful in my life. Karen comes from a corporate background. Maybe, Karen, you want to speak a little bit about your strengths and your approach?
My approach is Karen Curry's approach, in that we love every chart we see, and any two people can be together. And so once you see it in the chart and you understand how you work versus how your partner works or your potential partner works, it's really a joy to see how those charts can come together. So that's what we focus on. And yes, I am on the quantum alignment side. I also have my own website called Living by Human Design. You can reach me through either of those. But the quantum alignment site is actually pretty cool and brand new, and I'll put a little plug in for that because Caroline and I are both on that.
Yeah, it's nice and shiny and gold and warm, and
it's nice and shiny. And they'll be able to, if you don't have your human design site, you can request one there, or a human design site, human design chart, you can request one there, and they'll send it out. And with that, you'll get a little introductory on how to read the chart if you're brand new. Even if you're not brand new. But I will post, after this goes, I'll post both links directly to their practitioner page on the site, and then it's fun to explore the site. And thank you both so much. That was very interesting.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Everybody love yourself.
Have a great weekend. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.